XRP holders, welcome back to the Crypto ZX channel. It is a very late update, but I wanted to give you guys an update to really talk about what's happening and of course what we could be expecting as we are going into Sunday morning. Shout out to you guys for showing tremendous amount of love day in, day out. Continue supporting and you will see a continuation of these updates. But looking across the market, as we are obviously going into Sunday morning, a little bit of a retracement on XRP side of things, down about 2% over the course of the last 24 hours. But just a continuous reminder, if you're looking at it on the monthly time frame, it is up 17.6%. Yes, it's not seeing those explosive moves, but it is making baby steps towards the upside. A lot of people forget, how far XRP has come in such a short span of time. People don't really think of, the November levels, before Donald Trump came into the office, where the price of XRP was really sitting. And right now, you're sitting at $2.37, which again is a huge deal. People that are truly XRP holders, that have been accumulating, while there has been a lot of FUD, are understanding the importance of where the price is currently sitting. But we're down about 1.2% in Bitcoin comparative side of things as well. Just a few hours ago, we did actually go above $140 billion. Right now, we are currently sitting at $139 billion in terms of valuation, and the 24-hour trading volume at about $5 billion. But before we get into any further, as always, just a quick disclaimer: anything on this channel is not financial advice. Always do your own due diligence and research when you are investing in crypto. So we had some big news that came out yesterday. You guys can see this for yourself. President Trump says that the U.S. negotiated a total reset with China during trade talks. And remember, we spoke about this in our yesterday's update, the importance of this. And if you've been a regular viewer on my channel, because of course I know there's a lot of newcomers coming on board as the market starts heating up, you do tend to see retail exposure coming in more and more, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people onboarding onto the Crypto ZX channel. And if this is your first time, welcome. If you have not subscribed, what are you waiting for? Hit that bell icon so you are notified every time we upload. But anyhow, this is huge. Since the tariffs conversations, we really wanted to see some sort of a resolution, some sort of like a good, negotiation really taking place between the U.S. and China, and that's exactly what we're hearing. And this is a really, really good step in the right direction. Moving forward, look at this. XRP bands are opening up. Fade data and get left behind. You're pretty much stating that XRP is getting ready for a major breakout. And right now, we do have this key resistance coming in the way, according to Zoom. And if you kind of take a look at it from my charts, very, very similar. And after that, we pretty much start going to the levels we haven't seen since March, and then off to all-time highs. So far so good. Like what I'm seeing here. Of course, dominance is really helping, with the way altcoins are really moving. Obviously, we'll touch a little bit more on that later down the video. So you can see, a crypto whale just scooped up 11 million XRP from a Korean giant update. Is something big coming? So, this is one of the very few transactions that you can really see on chain. And that does have an impact on the price of XRP, but we need to understand, the over-the-counter trades that also happen that don't really go into account with the centralized exchange numbers. And that's where the big whales accumulate, because of course, if you're coming in with millions of dollars and you are wanting to, get exposure to any digital asset, it's, better to do it OTC because it doesn't have an impact on the price. So, this is very interesting. To answer this, is something big coming. Obviously, the market is heating up, a lot of excitement, ETF conversations happening, and a lot of people speculating about, BlackRock finally coming out and, filing for an ETF. Again, it kind of goes unsaid. This is something, we've been discussing on the channel for quite some time. It just makes sense. You're seeing a lot of different asset managers across the board come in really hot with the ETF filings for XRP and other digital assets, and you're looking at the big boys still kind of not on board, but they're aware of the demand. Don't get that twisted, and I think it is going to happen and it's imminent. So that is that. But I kind of really want to touch on the M2 money supply and the correlation that it has with BTC. It is just astonishing at this point. Raoul Pal was, one of the very first analysts, if you want to call it, to, point out the global M2 supply. And kind of, if you look at the correlation, like I've stated to you guys before, historically, you do tend to see a positive correlation rather than negative. And really, guys, it has been playing out perfectly. We saw the major upspike in, the M2 global money supply. And of course, this is where Raoul Pal and some of the other analysts have stated that we could actually see Bitcoin start heating up, and that's exactly what has happened. Was it as simple as that? It looks like it was, but yeah, very, very interesting the way this chart is playing out. It is something that I'm going to incorporate into my analysis. But yeah, I really want to shed some light on this. But last but not least, the Grayscale Digital Large Cap Fund Index, which contains XRP, is set to launch on July 2nd. This would be a spot ETF. And of course, people are going to start jumping around saying, this is massive. This doesn't just mean it's XRP ETF. It's an index, large cap index. So let's kind of take a look at which coins it would consist. I'm sure it should say the coins. The next 19.4 in the market is going to hit 240 days. Yeah, it doesn't really say the different coins that will be, making up this fund, but this doesn't necessarily mean it's just one asset. It's multiple assets combined, which makes that index. But again, a right direction where we really need to be heading. But now, with that being said, let's really analyze and take a look at the price, and then we'll kind of wrap up the video from there. So if you're looking at the dominance, I did state this in my HBAR update. If you did watch that, great. If not, we'll kind of go over what's happening. So dominance went down to 62.6%, a level we haven't seen since early April. We are seeing not a small drop for the dominance, quite a sharp drop. And if you're looking at the way Ethereum is performing as well, it's going absolutely nuts. And of course, when Ethereum makes moves the way it has been, altcoin season really comes in the conversation. And is that an unrealistic thing to be talking about? Absolutely not, because BTC is on the verge of breaking towards a new all-time high. With that said, let's take a look at what's happening with XRP. So XRP did go up to $2.50 just a few hours ago, but look where we got stopped at. The major key resistance I've spoken to you guys about countless of times. Of course, with the way dominance went down today, that gave it more of a push, with Bitcoin obviously seeing a push towards the $105,000. So of course, it's not a secret that XRP did make its way up to that 250 zone, and we did see a little bit of a rejection as to be expected. But the 23.6 is the level to be watching, and I do personally believe in the next few days we could actually see that retest happening, which again would be very, very nice to see. But let me know down below what you guys think. Thank you for all your support. We'll see you later. Crypto ZX, and peace out.